The first thing I did after being reborn right before the apocalypse was spend every last penny of my savings. I bought an underground mall that had been abandoned for 10 years. Everyone said I had lost my mind. Even the real estate agent laughed at me like I was an idiot. The construction foreman stood in front of the pitch-black entrance and couldn't help but ask me, "Boss, even the rats wouldn't want to live in this hellhole. Why on earth would you buy it?" I just smiled and didn't explain a thing. Because I am the only one who knows. In 7 days, the apocalypse will hit, and when it does, a massive blizzard will blanket the entire globe, and it won't be just any ordinary snow. Snow carries some kind of unknown spore. The second it touches bare skin, or gets into your body through a cut, your mouth, or your nose. Best case scenario, you fall into a high fever and a coma. Worst case, you completely lose your mind, turning into an infected monster that only knows how to attack the living. But that is just the beginning of the end. After the blizzard hits, global temperatures will plummet, -30 degrees, until it finally settles at well below -80 degrees. Right after that, the power grid collapses. Communications get cut off, city heating systems die completely. The once bustling surface of the world, in just a matter of days, will turn into a living hell. By then, money will be nothing but scrap paper. Gold won't be worth a damn thing. The only things that will actually keep you alive are hot water, food, medicine, and fuel. Just 1 cup of hot water could get you a gold ring. A single block of compressed rations could make the most arrogant people throw away every last ounce of their dignity. And a single bag of coal? That could make an entire apartment building turn on each other in a heartbeat. And this underground mall that everyone looked down on is going to become the very last safe haven in this entire city. In my past life, I died exactly 6 months after the blizzard started. Back then, I fought like hell to protect my fiancée, Lin Yu Wei. I gave her my very last winter coat. I let her have the last sip of hot soup. I even marched through the freezing storm for 3 whole kilometers, just to find her a box of fever meds. But in the end, she was the one who opened the door to our safe house. She told Zhou Yan all about the supplies I had been hiding for 6 months. That night, Zhou Yan brought over a dozen survivors and stormed right into my safe house. They stole my coal. They stole every single bit of hope I had left to survive. And Lin Yu Wei? She just stood there, wearing the winter coat I had risked my life to get. Standing behind Zhou Yan, staring at me with dead eyes. "Lu Chen, you can't blame me. There are only so many supplies left. I can't just sit here and starve to death with you, right?" And then, she shoved me out the door. The -80-degree snow fell right onto my face. I didn't black out right away. I could even hear Zhou Yan laughing as he said, "A piece of trash like him. Surviving this long? He has already had more than enough dumb luck." Lin Yu Wei didn't even argue. She just let out a soft, cold laugh. That was the moment I finally understood. The coldest thing in the apocalypse was never the snow. It was human nature. When I opened my eyes again, I had returned to 7 days before the great snowstorm. On my phone screen was a message from Lin Yu Wei. "Lu Chen, I need to feel secure if we're getting married. Transfer the house to my name first. We'll be family eventually anyway. You can't be lacking even this little bit of sincerity, right?" Staring at those words, I slammed my phone face down on the table. In my past life, just to give her that so-called security, I put the house my parents left me under her name. But when the apocalypse hit, she used that very house as a bargaining chip, trading it for Zhou Yan's protection. In this life, she still wants my house? Keep dreaming. I immediately grabbed the property deed and headed straight to the bank. 3 hours later, the house was successfully mortgaged. After that, I cashed out my stocks and mutual funds. I sold the commercial properties my parents left behind, and even my car and valuable collectibles were all liquidated at bargain prices. Finally, I scraped together over 80 million. This money would be more than enough for a great life before the apocalypse. But 7 days from now, money would just be a pile of waste paper. I didn't rush to buy supplies, because I knew very well, no matter how much stuff you have, without a safe place to store it, you're just hoarding it for someone else to steal. So, my very first move was to contact the owner of that abandoned underground mall in the suburbs. I had checked its property rights in my past life. Once the call connected, it was absurdly clean. No mortgages, no debt disputes, and no messy ownership arguments. Its only problem was that the location was too remote. It had been vacant for so long that absolutely no one wanted to take it over. That place was originally an underground commercial street built 10 years ago. Later, due to poor management, it just sat empty. The surface entrance was dilapidated, the underground was cold and damp, and there was barely any foot traffic around. In everyone else's eyes, it was just a massive, worthless money pit. But I knew better. It had 3 levels of underground space. The walls were thick, the ventilation system was fully intact. There was even an independent water well. More importantly, it was previously converted from a civil defense air raid shelter. The main structure, the ventilation ducts, the drainage system, and part of the backup power circuits were all still there. What I needed to do wasn't building from scratch. It was simply sealing and reinforcing the existing foundation, and getting it running again. With just a little bit of remodeling, it would be a natural doomsday fortress. The moment the owner heard I wanted to buy it, his eyes instantly lit up. "Young man, are you absolutely sure you want to buy that godforsaken place?" "I'm sure. And this place was built back in the day. It cost over 50 million. If you really want to take it off my hands, 8 million, and I'll transfer the property rights and underground parking spots right over to you." 5,800,000. The boss froze for a second. I kept going. "We signed the contract today. And I wire the money today." He went quiet for a few seconds, then suddenly slapped his thigh. "Deal." To him, that underground mall had been sitting dead for 10 years. Every single year, the maintenance and piled up bills were like rotting meat dragging him down. Now that someone was actually willing to take it off his hands, he couldn't wait to shove the keys into my hands that very night. The second the contract was signed, I wired the 5,800,000 straight over. The way the boss looked at me was like he was looking at an absolute idiot. But what he didn't know was that in 7 days, forget 5,800,000. Even if someone offered me a whole downtown skyscraper, I wouldn't trade this underground mall for the world. Right after the paperwork was done, I immediately called in a construction crew. I only had one demand. Within 7 days, turn this underground mall into a literal doomsday fortress. Basement level 1 turns into the power grid and defense buffer zone. Basement level 2 becomes the main storage area, cold rooms, and medical supply cache. And basement level 3 gets fully converted into the living quarters. The entrance needs 3 heavy-duty alloy blast doors. All the hallways get reinforced isolation fences and electronic security gates. Every single exposed window gets sealed shut. The ventilation shafts need heavy-duty air filters and anti-backflow valves. And security cameras covering absolutely every blind spot. When the foreman heard my demands, his face turned completely green. "Are you renovating a mall? Or building a fallout shelter?" I just looked right at him. "Is the money enough?" "Oh, it's enough. As long as the cash is there, forget a shelter. I could build you an underground palace." I wired him a 500,000 deposit right on the spot. All the doubt on his face instantly melted into total suck-up mode. "Don't worry, boss. 7 days max, guaranteed it's done." With the underground fortress renovations all set up, I started my real shopping spree. Food, water, winter gear, life-saving supplies. If it's needed for the apocalypse, I was buying it. Fuel by the ton, meds by the crate, food by the entire warehouse. Steel doors, security cameras, riot gear. Maxed out on absolutely everything. Especially salt, antibiotics, fever reducers, and heavy-duty disinfectants. 7 days from now, a tiny packet of salt would make people bash each other's heads in. A single box of antibiotics? In the wasteland, that's literally a second life. Bought up a massive batch of frozen meat that supermarkets had canceled. Beef, lamb chops, chicken drumsticks, frozen shrimp, frozen ready-to-eat meals. Every single one fully inspected and certified. They were only dumped because the orders fell through. And they were just taking up space in the freezers. When the manager saw me order 20 truckloads in one breath, his eyes lit up. "Buddy, are you really sure you want all of it?" "I'm taking it all. With this much stock, do you even have a place to store it?" I simply nodded. "The freezing chambers are already prepped." He had no idea. To him, this was just clearing out inventory. But to me, this was my lifeline for many years to come. Once the Great Blizzard hits, the city will lose power. Supermarkets will be stripped bare, and supply chains will completely collapse. By then, even half a frozen steak will be enough to make people kill each other. At 8 o'clock at night, 20 refrigerated trucks rolled into the Daejeon Underground Mall one after another. Box after box of beef, lamb chops, chicken legs, frozen shrimp, and quick frozen meals were hauled into the freezers. The construction crew watched in absolute shock. The foreman couldn't help but ask, "Boss, are you planning to open a mega supermarket?" Something like that. They had no idea. In 7 days, supermarkets would turn to rubble. Cold storages would become absolute war zones. And this underground fortress right beneath my feet would become the safest place in the entire city. Over the next few days, the once cold and damp Daejeon Mall completely transformed. Power, medical, and living quarters were all fully partitioned. Diesel generators, battery banks, and fuel reserves were wired into an independent grid. Even if the city's power grid completely dies, this place would still have power. The living area on basement level 3 was also fully renovated to my exact demands. Bedrooms, kitchens, medical bays, fitness zones, security rooms, and greenhouses, they had absolutely everything. Water circulation and air filtration systems were running perfectly. There was even a mini home theater. I was not just going to survive, I was going to live in total comfort. In my past life, I suffered way too much. Moldy bread, frozen filthy water, and the pathetic scraps left behind by looters. Those things, I never want to touch them again for the rest of my life. On the night of the final day of the countdown, the crew finished installing the last blast door. The foreman patted the heavy steel door, grinning with pure pride as he spoke. "Boss Lou, you can rest easy with this door. Forget about normal people, even if someone rammed a car right into it. It wouldn't even budge." I looked at the massive alloy door and nodded with pure satisfaction. Of course a car couldn't break it open. But after tonight, the things slamming against this door might not be cars at all. After paying off the final balance, the entire crew left. The heavy blast door slowly sealed shut. With a heavy clank, the entire underground mall was completely cut off from the outside world. I stood there, right inside the security room, looking at dozens of screens lighting up all at once. The main entrance, the backup passage, the air vents, the underground parking lot, and a few of the surrounding streets. I had already hidden cameras behind streetlights, abandoned shop signs, and billboards. I even paid off a few nearby shops to get access to their old security feeds. Right now, every single feed is crystal clear right in front of my eyes. The underground bunker is completely finished. All the supplies are locked and loaded. Down in the storage area on basement level 2, rows of shelves stand silently under the lights. Food, canned goods, emergency rations, medicine, tools, hazmat suits, and emergency gear, all sealed up and organized by zone. Every single door is fitted with both electronic and mechanical locks. Every single hallway is fully covered by the security cameras. I went down my checklist, crossing things off one by one. Food, water, medicine, fuel, heating, air and water purifiers, and defense systems, all good to go. Right at that moment, my phone rang. The caller ID read, Lin Yue. The second I picked up, her impatient voice snapped at me. "Lu Chen, what the hell is your problem? I texted you, so why didn't you reply? My mom said, if you don't transfer the house to my name, the wedding is off. Oh, and another thing. I heard from Joe Yan that you mortgaged the house. That's supposed to be our future home." I just replied coldly, "Lin Yue, that's the house my parents left me. What does that have to do with you?" Her voice instantly pitched up into a screech. "Lu Chen, are you seriously nickel and diming me right now? I am your fiancé, you're a man, and you can't even give me a house? And you claim you love me?" If it were the old me from my past life, hearing that, I would have panicked, apologized, and tried to explain myself. I would have babied her, crushing whatever was left of my dignity into the dirt. But now, I just find it hilarious. "Lin Yue, you wanted a sense of security, right?" Her tone softened up a little. "Well, that's more like it. Then tomorrow you need to." I cut her off right there. "Go find Joe Yan then. He's got plenty of security to give you." The other end of the line went dead silent. A few seconds later, Lin Yue screamed in absolute fury. "Lu Chen, are you out of your mind? How dare you speak to me like that? Watch me cancel this wedding right now. Go ahead, cancel it. And by the way, tell your mom I'm not paying a dime of that engagement money. And remember to refund my half of the money for the wedding photos." With that said, I hung up the phone straight away. The very next second, Lin Yuwei's messages started blowing up my phone. Lu Chen, you are so finished. I'm telling you, you still have time to apologize. There are plenty of guys chasing after me. Zhou Yan is way better than you. Don't you dare regret this. I stared at her final message and turned off my phone. Regret? In 7 days, the ones who should be regretting this will be you guys. 12 a.m., midnight. The wind suddenly picked up outside. I walked over to the security monitors. Down on the street, people were still laughing and joking around. Delivery drivers sped by on their e-bikes, and the convenience store was brightly lit. Steam billowed from the street barbecue stands. The entire city was still wrapped up in an ordinary, peaceful night. Nobody knew that the countdown was already over. 12:01 a.m. The very first snowflake in the sky slowly drifted down. It landed right on the hand of a drunk guy by the road. The drunk guy froze for a second. What the hell is with this weather? Why is it snowing all of a sudden? I switched to the high-definition camera and zoomed in on the feed. The next second, his body went completely stiff. Bizarre, unnatural veins started popping up all over his skin. His eyes rolled back, and a low, suppressed growl escaped his throat. Right after that, he violently lunged at a passerby next to him. Terrified screams erupted down the street. The snow fell harder and faster. The street plunged into pure chaos. People were frantically brushing the snow off their clothes, while others turned and ran for their lives. Some tried to hide inside the convenience store, only to find the doorway completely jammed with people. In just a few short minutes, the entire street was totally out of control. The camera feed shook violently. The snowy ground was quickly left with nothing but chaotic footprints and gruesome trails of blood. At that exact moment, the entire city officially descended into darkness. Meanwhile, I sat inside my warm, safe bunker, picking up a bowl of freshly cooked beef noodles. The broth was piping hot, the beef incredibly tender. The air even carried a faint hint of scallions. I stared at the absolute chaos on the monitors. I didn't feel any joy, just a heavy sense of closure, like the other shoe had finally dropped. The apocalypse had officially begun. I was in no rush to turn off the monitors, because I knew the real nightmare was only just beginning. For the first 10 minutes, most people still thought it was just some sudden natural disaster. Just extreme weather or some brief freak accident. But 20 minutes later, the first wave of infected had completely lost it. They felt no cold, they felt no pain, and they had zero sanity left. The moment they heard a living person, they'd be drawn right over to the sound. On the monitor screens, the city lights flickered out, block by block, and in the end, there was nothing left but the swirling snowstorm and the endless echoes of distant screams. The city's communication network hadn't completely collapsed just yet. A few cell towers were still running on backup power, so the signal kept cutting in and out. Nobody knew how much longer it would last, and because of that, notifications from the birthday group chat just kept popping up, one after another. What the hell is going on outside? Why is it suddenly snowing? Some people are acting like total maniacs. It's absolute chaos at the hotel entrance. Quick, call the cops. The emergency lines are down. I can't get through. Lu Chen, do you know something about this? The guy sending those messages was Zhou Yan. He hadn't changed a bit. Whenever danger reared its ugly head, the first thing on his mind was never to take responsibility, but to find someone else to take the fall. Right after that, an audio call from Lin Yuwei popped up on my screen. I ignored it, so she called again. I ignored that one too. After 5 missed calls in a row, she finally blew up my texts. Lu Chen, where are you? Something terrible is happening outside. You need to come get me right now. I'm at the Jinyu Hotel. There are lunatics everywhere out here. Are you even listening to me? I stared at the screen, my face completely deadpan. The Jinyu Hotel, just like in my past life. Her birthday party was being held in the exact same place. Only this time around, I didn't show up. I typed back a simple, 2-word reply. Too busy. The second it delivered, Lin Yuwei fired back almost instantly. Lu Chen, what the hell is that supposed to mean? I am your fiancé. It is incredibly dangerous out here right now. And you have the nerve to tell me you're too busy. Are you even a man? Even with the apocalypse literally unfolding outside, she still felt entitled. Expecting me to act like I always did, jumping at her every command. And risking my own neck to play the hero and save her. I replied, the wedding is off, you are not my fiancé anymore. There was dead silence on her end for a few seconds. And then, A massive wall of frantic texts flooded my screen. Lu Chen, have you lost your mind? Is this really the time to throw a childish tantrum? Things are seriously out of control out here. Hurry up and come get me. If you just come and pick me up, I am willing to forgive your terrible attitude today. Reading that, I practically laughed out loud. Forgive me? Even now, she honestly still believed that she was doing me some kind of huge favor. I didn't bother replying again. Instead, I pulled up the external security feeds I had tapped into earlier. One of the cameras had a perfect view of the streets right outside the Jinyu Hotel. The video feed was pretty choppy, but it was clear enough to see the absolute madness unfolding at the entrance. Several cars had smashed into each other. The glass doors were completely shattered across the pavement, and the lobby was jam-packed with terrified people. Some were desperately fighting to get out, while others were frantically trying to push their way inside. Soon enough, through the window of the second-floor banquet hall, I spotted Lin Yue. She was wearing a white evening gown, her perfect makeup completely ruined. Right now, she was gripping her phone, crying as she kept frantically looking outside. And right beside her, Zhou Yan was pressing his body against the door. A few mutual friends were standing there too, their faces pale with pure terror. These were the exact same people who, when I was thrown out of the shelter, didn't say a single word to defend me. Well, now, they finally get to taste what real fear feels like. I closed the group chat and started running diagnostics on the underground bunker's systems. Air filtration? Normal. Water purification? Normal. External cameras? All normal. All 3 blast doors were deadlocked. Down in the basement level 1 power room, the diesel generator had already kicked on automatically. Its deep rumble echoed through the thick walls, sounding just like a steady, beating heart. Indoor temperature, 24 degrees. Outside temperature, minus 36 degrees. And that number was only going to keep dropping. I knew that by noon today at the latest, the temperature outside would plummet past minus 80 degrees. And that happens, let alone ordinary people. Even vehicles would be completely frozen and impossible to start. The true frozen hell hadn't even started yet. By the time I woke up the next morning, it was already 9 o'clock. The very first thing I did was turn on the main monitor. The world outside had completely transformed. The entire city was buried in snow. The streets were jammed with wrecked cars, and roadside billboards had frozen and shattered, dangling dangerously in the air. The entrance to the convenience store was trashed. A few infected were dragging themselves slowly through the snow. The moment they heard the slightest sound, their heads would snap up. Hunting for the scent of the living, I took a quick glance at the outside temperature. Minus 72 degrees. It was dropping way faster than in my past life. Right at that moment, the bunker's external intercom suddenly beeped. Someone was approaching the underground mall entrance. I pulled up the camera feed. I saw 3 men huddled under thick blankets, their faces tightly wrapped in scarves, and their hands tucked deep into their sleeves. You could barely see anything but their eyes. They were fighting against the blizzard, stumbling wildly toward the entrance. And one of those men, I recognized him. It was Wang Hai, the property manager from the neighborhood next door. In my past life, during the early days of the apocalypse, he had organized a group of survivors from the nearby blocks. On the surface, he acted like they were a mutual aid group, but behind closed doors, he robbed people blind for their supplies. Bastards like him were far more terrifying than any infected. Right now, Wang Hai was violently pounding on the iron gate outside the underground mall. Is anyone there? Open the door, we're freezing to death out here. Is someone in there? Open up and let us in. I didn't make a single sound. I just sat there, quietly watching the monitor. After banging on the door for a good while, Wang Hai's expression instantly turned vicious. I know there's someone in there. Wasn't this place under construction the other day? Hurry up and open the door. It's an emergency right now. We need to share resources. Hearing that, I flipped on the external intercom. After a burst of static, my voice echoed from the speakers outside the door. Why the hell should I? Wang Hai's head snapped up. He glared at the camera. Who are you? Then, as if realizing something, you're that idiot who bought this underground mall a few days ago. Still think I'm an idiot? Wang Hai's face froze. The 2 guys next to him stared at the newly installed camera, then down at the heavy blast door. Their expressions shifted instantly. They knew this place had been fortified. Those trucks rolling into the underground mall over the past few days made it pretty obvious what was inside. Electricity, heating, and supplies. Wang Hai instantly changed his tune. "Brother Lu, we're all neighbors here. It's so dangerous out here right now. You can't just leave us to die. Just let us in to warm up first. Don't worry, we won't stay for free. We can help you guard the place. I'm not taking anyone in." "Lu Chen, don't be so damn selfish. Look at how things are out here, and you're hoarding this massive place all to yourself. Is that really fair?" I wasn't provoked by his anger. I just replied calmly, "I can give you a route out. 300 meters to the east, there's a community clinic. The walls there are thick, and there are plenty of doors. You can take shelter from the wind for a bit. 500 meters further north, there's an underground parking lot. The entrance is much easier to breach than this one. If you leave right now, you still have a chance. Keep banging on that door, and you'll only attract the infected." But Wang Hai wasn't listening at all. He pointed at the camera and yelled, "Don't try to bullshit me. You just want to get rid of us. When the military rescue arrives, I'll be the first one to report your ass." I watched the snowstorm growing thicker behind him, my voice dropping a few degrees. "Then you'd better survive until they get here." Just as I said that, a low, guttural growl echoed from the distance. Wang Hai and his two buddies froze instantly. On the security feed, a few staggering figures slowly crept out from the street corner. They were covered in frost, their eyes completely pitch black. Wang Hai's tone changed in a heartbeat. "Lu Chen, open the door, open the damn door." I didn't open the door, because I knew damn well, once I opened that first door, it would bring an endless nightmare of problems. The outer airlock hadn't finished decontaminating yet. Anyone barging in with those snow spores could wipe out my entire bunker. I gave them one last warning. "Run east, you still have time." With that, I cut the intercom. Outside, Wang Hai was frantically pounding on the blast door, but the blast door didn't budge an inch. The very next second, several dark shadows lunged into the blizzard, and the security camera feed shook violently. I didn't keep watching, not because I felt sorry for them, but because I knew the apocalypse had already given its answer. Just because you scream the loudest doesn't mean anyone has to risk their life to save you. And no amount of guilt tripping gives you the right to steal someone else's way out. 12 noon, the outdoor temperature, -86 degrees, the heavy snow was still falling. The entire city looked like it had been buried under a massive layer of ice and snow. You could barely see a living soul on the streets. Only the infected were left, slowly wandering through the snow. Their movements were stiffer than last night, but their hearing seemed even sharper. A car alarm suddenly went off, and in less than 10 seconds, over a dozen dark shadows nearby snapped their heads around. They swarmed straight toward the source of the noise. Watching all of this, I furrowed my brow. It was exactly as I remembered. The monsters infected by the spores in the snow would keep evolving. On day 1, they would be drawn to loud noises. By day 3, they'd become hypersensitive to the slightest sounds and body heat. After day 7, mutants would start appearing that could actually climb and smash right through doors. In other words, my underground fortress had to survive this first wave of trials within 7 days. And that test was coming fast. At 2 p.m. on the security feed, right at the end of the street outside the underground mall, a group of people showed up. There were about 20 of them, men and women. Some were dragging the wounded along, while others hauled backpacks. They must have sneaked all the way over here from the underground parking lot of a nearby neighborhood. They were bundled up in puffer jackets, heavy quilts, plastic ponchos, and even curtains. Their faces were tightly wrapped in scarves, with cut-up clear plastic taped over their eyes as makeshift goggles. But even with all that, their eyebrows and eyelashes were already completely frozen over with frost. A few of them even had sickly black spots forming on the backs of their hands and necks. The freezing slush was seeping right through the gaps in their clothes. And leading the pack was none other than Wang Hai. I can't believe that bastard is still alive. His eyes looked even more unhinged than this morning. He had a few young guys backing him up, gripping iron pipes, wrenches, and fire axes. It was pretty damn obvious they weren't here to beg for help. They were here to smash the door down. I switched on the external PA system. "Stop right there." My voice blasted through the speakers at the entrance. The crowd instantly froze. "Get out of here. We're not taking anyone in." Instantly, someone in the crowd started wailing. "How can you be so heartless? Just let us inside to warm up, please. You're hogging this huge place all to yourself." Aren't you afraid of karma? Wang Hai seized the moment and shouted at the top of his lungs. You all heard him, right? He's got plenty of room. He's got supplies. He's even got heating, but he'd rather watch us freeze to death than let us in. Clinging to his private property at a time like this. The guy's a total monster. I watched him quietly. I have to admit, Wang Hai knew exactly how to rile people up. He knew he couldn't get in here alone, so he tied his fate to everyone else's. If I refused to open the door, I'd immediately become the villain in their eyes. Too bad, that trick doesn't work on me anymore. I spoke up. First, this underground mall is mine. Second, we don't have the proper setup for a mass quarantine here. Third, some of you are already showing the black spots. If you force your way in, you'll just drag everyone down with you. And fourth, the louder you are at my door, the faster the infected will find you. I gave them the escape routes one last time. 300 meters to the east is the community clinic. 500 meters north is the underground parking garage. If you want to live, move now before they swarm. Get out of here. That was the absolute last warning I could give, but Wang Hai clearly wasn't satisfied. He let out a cold sneer. Don't listen to him, he's just saying that to scare us off. I bet he's hoarding a ton of supplies in there. If we all rush him at once, he'll have to open the damn door. A few young guys immediately charged forward, gripping iron pipes and fire axes. They started violently smashing against the outer steel door. The ear-piercing crashes echoed far down the empty, desolate street. I warned them one last time. Stop banging on the door. The noise is going to draw the infected right to you. But Wang Hai acted like he couldn't hear me. Instead, he yelled even louder. Everyone, shout with me. Make him open up. He won't dare just watch us die. The crowd was completely riled up now. Open the door, open the door. The frantic chants echoed one after another, carrying far into the howling blizzard. I didn't bother trying to talk them down anymore. I just switched my security camera feeds to check both ends of the street. And sure enough, few wandering infected in the distance had slowly lifted their heads. Then another. More and more dark silhouettes began turning around from behind the veil of snow. They heard them. Meanwhile, Wang Hai was still screaming. Lu Chen, if you don't open this door, you're murdering all of us. I leaned back in my chair, staring at him calmly through the screen. No, the one who brought them here to die was you. The very next second, the first dark figure lunged around the street corner. Someone in the crowd shrieked in terror. Total chaos erupted instantly. The guys who were just violently smashing my door instantly dropped their weapons and made a run for it. People were tripping over themselves, clawing and tearing at each other to get away. Some went crying and screaming as they bolted into the blinding snow. The blood drained from Wang Hai's face. He spun around, desperate to escape. But before he could even take 2 steps, a man grabbed onto him with a death grip. Wang Hai, you're the one who said we could get in here. Don't you even think about running. Wang Hai roared, let go of me. You guys are just stupid. What does that have to do with me? The moment those words came out, the expressions of everyone around him completely changed. But they didn't have time to be angry. The blizzard and chaos quickly swallowed the scene outside the door. I sat in the surveillance room and didn't move. And I didn't open the door either, because I knew very well. If I got soft-hearted right now, the one to die would be me. A few minutes later, it grew quiet outside the door once again. Heavy snow was still falling. Scattered on the ground were iron bars, cotton blankets, and a few shoes. The survivors had already scattered and fled. Wang Hai was gone too. I don't know if he ran away, or got swallowed by the blizzard. I turned off the external broadcast, then zoomed in on the outside surveillance feed to confirm the outer defenses weren't damaged. Perfect, the first wave of impact. The underground bunker survived without a scratch. Just then, my phone vibrated again. This time it wasn't Lin Yue. It was Zhou Yan. Lu Chen, I know where you are. The underground mall, right? Just you wait. We'll be heading over there real soon. It seems, the news about the underground mall had already reached Zhou Yan. As for whether Wang Hai leaked it, or Lin Yue told him, that doesn't matter anymore. What matters is, they've finally set their sights on me. It's just that in this life. The door is in my hands, the supplies are in my hands. And the only way to survive is also in my hands. I slowly typed out a reply. Come, I'll be waiting for you all. After sending the message, I pulled up the map and took a look. Jinyu Hotel's distance from the underground mall was less than 1 kilometer in a straight line, with an abandoned underground passage in between. In the past, you could get there in just a few minutes by car. But now, in this 1 kilometer, there are blizzards, extreme freezing cold, the infected, and out-of-control mobs. If they want to make it to me alive, it won't be that easy. At 3:30 in the afternoon, the perimeter surveillance facing Jinyu Hotel finally caught a blurry line of figures. The blizzard was too heavy, I couldn't see every stretch of the road clearly. They'd appear in the intersection cameras at times, then vanish into the curtain of snow. Zhou Yan was leading Lin Yue, along with a few mutual friends. Struggling to move toward the underground mall, they were wrapped in cotton blankets dug out from the hotel's warehouse. Tablecloths and plastic raincoats. Their faces were tangled in bedsheets and scarves, while their hands and feet were makeshift sealed with plastic wrap, tape, and garbage bags. Even so, every time they reappeared on the surveillance screen, their numbers would drop by a few. Someone couldn't walk anymore, some were forced to stay in shops by the road, while others chose to hide in garages. They never caught up. By the time they finally approached Dijun Mall, out of the original dozen or so people, only 7 were left. Lin Yue was being dragged by the arm by Zhou Yan, her face as pale as paper. She used to care about her image more than anything. She never went out without perfect makeup, and would throw a fit if even a speck of dust got on her shoes. But now, she was covered in filthy snow, her messy hair plastered to her face. Looking as wretched as a refugee. I sat in the security room, watching quietly. I didn't feel an ounce of pity. In my past life, I had dragged myself through the snow step by step, exactly like this. Except back then, I braved the blizzard to find medicine for her. But in this life, she came here, to beg me to open the door. Soon, a few swaying dark shadows appeared behind them. Zhou Yan clearly noticed them too. His face changed, and he immediately quickened his pace. Hurry up, Dijun Mall is just ahead. As long as we get inside, we'll be saved. Lin Yue's lips were already purple from the cold. Crying, she said, Zhou Yan, I can't walk anymore. Zhou Yan glanced back at her, a flash of impatience in his eyes. Look at the situation, stop being so dramatic. Lin Yue froze. In the past, Zhou Yan had always been gentle and considerate to her. He would hand her water, carry her bag, and put on this perfectly understanding act right in front of me. But now, the apocalypse had barely even started, and his patience was already completely gone. Lin Yue finally realized that Zhou Yan was never the rock she thought he was. But it was too late. Half an hour later, they finally appeared outside the entrance of Dijun Mall. Zhou Yan looked up at the camera and started banging hard on the outer iron gate. Lu Chen, open the door, we're here. Lin Yue also looked up, tears instantly streaming down her face. Lu Chen, it's me, I know you're in there. Please, just open the door, okay? I really know I was wrong. I turned on the external broadcast. The static hissed, and my voice echoed from the speakers. Wrong about what? As if grabbing onto a lifeline, Lin Yue hurriedly replied. I shouldn't have forced you to transfer the house to me. I shouldn't have said those hurtful things to you. I shouldn't have gotten so close to Zhou Yan. Lu Chen, if you just let me in, I'll do whatever you say from now on. Zhou Yan's face darkened. Yue. But Lin Yue didn't even look at him. She just stared dead at the camera, weeping pitifully. If this were my past life, seeing her like this, my heart would have softened instantly. But right now, I just find it ironic. I continued speaking. Lin Yue, if I open the door right now, can you promise you won't take Zhou Yan's side? Can you promise you won't join them in forcing me to hand over the supplies in here? Can you promise that once you step inside, you won't just treat this place like it belongs to all of you? Lin Yue opened her mouth, but couldn't say a single word, because she knew very well, if this door actually opened, the very first thing on her mind wouldn't necessarily be thanking me, but figuring out how to survive. Figuring out how to get Zhou Yan inside too, and how to turn this place into her new safety net. Zhou Yan's expression shifted slightly. He quickly recovered, and let out a cold sneer. Lu Chen, stop trying to drive a wedge between us. The outside is swarming with the infected right now, and yet you're hiding in there, interrogating us like a judge. I looked right at him. Zhou Yan, what you truly want has never been just a way to survive. It's the supplies in here. From the moment you found out about the location of this underground mall, you were never thinking about asking for help, but about how to break in. How to take the things inside for yourself. Zhou Yan's face completely changed. He dropped the act entirely, bending down to grab a heavy rock. He smashed it viciously against the camera's protective cover. With a loud bang, the cover only shuddered. There wasn't even a single crack. Lu Chen, stop hiding in there playing tricks. Let me tell you, if you don't open this door today, once I get in, the stuff in there won't necessarily belong to you anymore. Lin Yuwei's face turned pale. She finally understood. Zhou Yan never wanted to beg Lu Chen to save their lives. He wanted to force his way in, to steal all the supplies in the underground mall, and she was just a bargaining chip Zhou Yan used to force Lu Chen to open the door. She quickly took a step back. Staring at Zhou Yan, she stammered, Yan, didn't you say we were just going to get Lu Chen to save us? Zhou Yan whipped his head around, all the gentleness completely vanishing from his face. Look at the situation we're in. Did you really think that just by begging, he was just going to open the door? Lin Yuwei froze. Zhou Yan let out a cold laugh. If you hadn't told me that Lu Chen was soft-hearted, and that he used to listen to whatever you said, you think I would have risked bringing you here? Why do you think I protected you this whole way? Because you're the key to making him open the door. As long as that door opens, the supplies inside are our real ticket to survival. Lin Yuwei stood completely paralyzed in place. She had always thought that Zhou Yan genuinely cared for her, that at the very least, in a time like this, he would protect her. But in the end, she was nothing more than a tool Zhou Yan used to pry open this door. I sat in the security room, gently tapping my fingers against the desk. Sometimes, I don't even need to lift a finger to reveal the truth. They'll just rip off each other's masks themselves. Right at that moment, a low, guttural growl echoed from the distance. Several dark figures had already been drawn over by all their yelling. I reminded them, you have 30 seconds left. Zhou Yan's expression dropped, and he started pounding on the door again. Lu Chen, open the door. If you open it right now, I promise I won't lay a finger on you. I didn't say a word. Even at a time like this, he was still acting tough. Lin Yuwei's legs gave out, and she collapsed into the snow. She tried to scramble back up, but her hands and feet were frozen stiff. All she could do was stare at the camera, sobbing. Lu Chen, please, I'm begging you. I didn't want it to end up like this. I know I was wrong, I really do. I watched her, but I didn't feel any satisfaction, nor any pity. All I felt was the calm of everything finally coming to an end. Lin Yuwei, I gave you chances, but every single time, you chose someone else. This time, I'm choosing myself. She completely broke down. Lu Chen, please, just give me one more chance. I didn't respond. Dark shadows in the distance were getting closer and closer. Zhou Yan finally started to panic. He threw a glance behind him, then locked his eyes on the emergency kit in Lin Yuwei's hands. It was the one I had just pushed out through the outer drop box. Inside were a few packs of compressed biscuits, 2 heat packs and a map showing the route to a temporary shelter. Lin Yuwei was clutching it for dear life, like it was her very last shred of hope. Suddenly, Zhou Yan lunged at her, violently snatching the emergency kit away. Lin Yuwei froze in shock. Zhou Yan, what are you doing? But Zhou Yan didn't even spare her a glance. He turned on his heel, ready to bolt. In that moment, it finally hit her. When it came down to the very end, the only person Zhou Yan cared about saving was himself. Lin Yuwei scrambled after him, desperately grabbing the hem of his jacket. Zhou Yan, you can't just leave me behind. Zhou Yan whipped his head around, his face twisted with pure malice. Back off. He shoved her away with vicious force, sending her crashing back into the snow. The emergency kit she had been holding was now firmly in his grasp. Lin Yuwei was completely stunned. Zhou Yan, Lu Chen gave that to me. But Zhou Yan didn't slow down for a second, turning and sprinting toward the street corner. Inside that kit were the compressed biscuits, the heat packs and the route to the shelter. It was the only thing that could have kept them alive out there. Yet he didn't even spare a single backward glance. Lin Yuwei lay helplessly in the snow, watching Zhou Yan run further and further away, and in that very moment, it seemed she finally understood the truth. Zhou Yan had never, ever planned to save her. All he cared about was getting what he needed to survive. To him, she was just a tool, nothing but bait to get this door open. She hadn't lost to the apocalypse. She hadn't even lost to the infected. She had lost to her very own greed and betrayal. With extreme effort, Lin Yuwei slowly lifted her head. She happened to look right into the camera. Lu Chen. She opened her mouth, like she wanted to say something else. But the blizzard was howling too loudly. I couldn't hear her anymore. The monitor flickered a few times. Several dark figures were closing in through the wall of snow. I didn't keep watching. I just turned off that camera feed. A few minutes later, only the howling wind was left on the external microphone. Zhou Yan didn't send any more messages. And Lin Yuwei's chat box never lit up again. Early the next morning, I turned the front door camera back on. Outside the blast door, all that was left was that winter coat I once gave Lin Yuwei, half buried in the snow. I stared at it for a long time, then turned off the screen. It wasn't until this moment that the hatred weighing on my chest for an entire lifetime finally faded away. Early the next morning, I pulled up the backup camera at the street corner. Zhou Yan hadn't gotten far. After snatching the emergency bag, he originally meant to head to the temporary shelter on the map. But he was so terrified of being robbed, he hugged the bag tightly the whole way. To avoid other survivors, he didn't take the safe route I had marked out. Instead, he ducked into a closer alleyway. That alley was the most crowded spot for the infected in my previous life. On the monitor, Zhou Yan had barely taken a few steps inside when several dark figures deep in the alley slowly turned around. He seemed to realize something was wrong, and stopped dead in his tracks. He tried to run back, but it was already too late. More and more infected swarmed out from the blizzard and from behind abandoned cars. Clutching the emergency bag, Zhou Yan backed away frantically, but stumbling silhouettes appeared at the alley entrance too. His escape route was completely blocked. On the camera feed, he banged desperately on a nearby rolling shutter door, then turned and screamed something toward the underground mall. But he was too far away. I couldn't hear him. The very next second, several dark figures lunged at him all at once. Zhou Yan's silhouette was instantly swallowed by the infected. The blizzard quickly covered the alley entrance, burying his final, struggling shadow. After that, Zhou Yan never showed up again. I turned off that monitor, and the security room fell quiet once again. Outside was the raging blizzard, and the low growls of the infected. It was the complete collapse of the old world. But in here, the heat was steady, and the lights were bright. I walked into the kitchen and served myself a hot bowl of soup. With my first sip, the scalding broth slid down my throat and warmed my stomach. I finally, truly realized that in this life, I had survived. From that day on, no one dared to blatantly force me to open my door again, like Wang Hai and Zhou Yan did. But I knew this didn't mean the danger was over. On the contrary, the true cruelty of the apocalypse was only just beginning. After communications were completely cut off, the entire city sank into a long, dead silence. My phone couldn't receive any more messages. The group chat stopped at the very last cry for help. The signal bars went completely blank. For the first 2 days, I'd still unlock my phone every now and then just to check. But eventually, I just locked it away in a drawer. This world, it's just not a place where a cell phone can connect you to anyone anymore. The first heavy snow fell for a solid half month. For that entire half month, the sky outside hardly ever got fully bright. The only difference between day and night was just a slight, grayish shift on the security monitors. Snow completely buried the streets and swallowed up the car roofs. It blocked off the lower floor exits of every building, and buried so many people on the streets who just couldn't escape in time. At its absolute coldest, the temperature outside plummeted to over -80 degrees. In that kind of freezing cold, there was just no way an ordinary person could survive out there for long. After a half month of this, the blizzard finally started to die down a little. The temperature slowly crept back up from its lowest point to -40 or 50 degrees. For an average person, that was still a deadly freeze, but at least, it gave a handful of survivors the chance to move short distances. It was also during those few days that I finally figured out how the spores in the snow actually infect people. Touching the snow didn't mean you'd instantly lose your mind. If it only brushed against your clothes for a second, you still had time to clean it off. The real danger was when the snow melted, and the water seeped into an open wound. Into your mouth or nose, or just stayed stuck to your bare skin for too long. The moment black spots started showing up on your skin, it meant the infection had already begun. Based on what I lived through in my past life, the longest incubation period was right around 72 hours. That's exactly why. The very first absolute rule I set for the underground bunker was this: any outsider Must be quarantined for 72 hours. Not even 1 minute less. A few times, I actually watched survivors creeping out of their apartment buildings. They had bedsheets wrapped tight around their bodies, and plastic bags tied over their shoes. Clutching whatever makeshift tools they could find, desperately trying to cross the street to scavenge for food at the supermarket. But they barely made it a few steps, before dark shadows in the snow slowly began to shift. Those infected freaks had half their bodies buried in the snowbanks, completely motionless most of the time. They looked like they were frozen solid, but the second they felt the vibration of footsteps, or sensed body heat, or even heard the tiniest sound, they would just launch themselves at anyone walking by. The security feed was quickly swallowed up by the blowing snow, and I just stopped watching. In this apocalypse, seeing some things too clearly just makes it that much harder to ever fall asleep. In the very beginning, the infected only chased down the living out of pure instinct. But just a few days later, they started getting hyper-aware of sounds, vibrations, and body heat. By the 7th day, the very first wave of high-threat infected showed up. They were terrifyingly faster and way more agile. One of them got drawn in by our heat signature, creeping all the way up to the air vents on the mall's outer wall. When the infrared alarms started blaring, I was down checking on the power room. The exact moment that piercing siren went off, my heart just dropped into my stomach. It wasn't fear, exactly. It was that awful memory from my past life, of my door being smashed in, flooding right back into my mind all at once. I instantly switched the feed over to the air vents. On the screen, that thing was just standing there right by the outer wall, getting way too close to the metal security grates. And then, the very next second, it smashed into it violently, making the whole ventilation duct tremble a little. I didn't move, just kept my eyes glued to the screen. A second hit, bang, a third hit, the security grate held firm, not a single dent. The air filtration was completely normal, and the backflow preventer was running perfectly. I let out a long, slow breath. Thank God I'd already installed a soundproofing layer in the vents. Thanks to the heat exchanger and the camouflaged exhaust, the air blowing outside was actually freezing cold. The noise was also deadened to a whisper. That infected freak was only drawn in by a random, tiny leak of heat. It never found the real entrance. In my past life, I didn't even have a door that could keep people out. But this time, I had built myself a true fortress, one that could survive the apocalypse. That infected thing lingered out there for a long time. Finally, as if it had lost its target, it slowly shuffled out of the camera's view. Over the next few days, more and more of the infected were drawn in by the heat and the low hum of the machines. Some pounded on the doors. Some stopped by the outer perimeter fencing, while others just prowled around the entrance. The noises were ear-piercing. It sounded like someone taking something sharp and slowly scraping it back and forth across the door. I didn't turn off the cameras. I didn't completely mute the audio either, because I had to get used to it. The apocalypse wasn't going to go easy on me just because I was scared. I stuck to my daily routine. Up at 7 in the morning. Check the power, check the fuel, check the water recycling system, check the air filters, log the outside temperature and track the movements of the infected, and then eat, work out, and organize the storage units. Finally, patrol all 3 levels of the underground bunker. For the first few days, I just couldn't sleep soundly. If I heard even the slightest noise in the middle of the night, I'd snap awake instantly and just stare at the security feeds for ages. Sometimes, I would have nightmares about being dragged back to my past life. I'd dream of Lin Yuwei throwing the door open, of Zhou Yan storming in with his gang. When I woke up, I'd just sit there in the pitch black for a long time. I wouldn't move until I'd double-checked that all 3 blast doors were deadbolted, and the power room was running smoothly. Only then could I finally lie back down. A sense of security isn't something that just magically appears the moment you hoard supplies. You have to build it, day by day. You have to check that the doors are still holding. Check that the food is still there. Check and remind yourself that no one can ever throw you to the wolves again. On day 10, I planted my first batch of vegetables down on sublevel 3. Lettuce, green onions, potatoes, and a few pots of tomatoes. As I pressed those little seeds down into the soil pods, my hands just froze for a long time. 6 months into the apocalypse in my past life, I barely saw anything actually green. Every single edible leaf had been scavenged long ago. People were even ripping up chunks of grass from the neighborhood flower beds just to boil them. Back then, a single fresh vegetable leaf was worth more than its weight in solid gold. So, when that very first tiny sprout of green popped out of the soil, I stood there under the grow lights, just staring at it for the longest time. It was so tiny, so fragile that a single finger could crush it, but in this world, where you could trade a cup of hot water for a human life, seeing this little patch of green gives me more peace of mind than a whole warehouse full of canned food. The canned food will eventually run out, and the fuel will burn away. But as long as these seeds can still sprout, this place isn't just a shelter. It's a place where I can truly survive. 1.5 months later, the number of survivors outside started dropping. At first, you'd still see people dragging their broken legs past the door. Some would collapse at the entrance, crying and screaming. Others would stare right into the security cameras, begging me for just one bite of food. But over time, those voices faded away. It wasn't because they gave up begging, it was because the number of people who could even make it this far was getting smaller and smaller. Then, late one night, the outside cameras picked up an old man. He was carrying a worn-out medical kit on his back, slipping and stumbling his way to the underground mall entrance. He didn't bang on the door. He didn't curse at me, and he didn't beg me to let him in. He just leaned against the doorframe, reaching into his coat to pull out a piece of cardboard frozen stiff by the snow. A few crooked lines were scribbled on it. "I am a doctor. I am not infected. I can treat the sick. I just want a sip of hot water." I stared at the monitor for a long time. I recognized that face. In my past life, when I was desperately searching for fever medicine for Lin Yu Wei, I had bumped into him in an abandoned clinic. The place had already been completely ransacked. I was on the brink of despair. But then, from a hidden compartment in his medical kit, he pulled out his very last 2 fever pills and gave them to me. His hands were trembling from the freezing cold. The pills were wrapped in a little piece of paper, its edges completely worn and crumpled. I froze in place. "What about you?" I asked. "I'm an old man," he had said. "I'll just take it one day at a time. You're still young. If I can help save just one more person, then that's what I'll do." Those 2 pills ended up saving Lin Yu Wei's life. But she would never know that an old man who was barely hanging on himself had literally sacrificed his own lifeline to give them to her. I turned on the external intercom and asked him, "Did you come into direct contact with the snow?" The old man looked up. His voice was so hoarse I could barely hear him. "No direct contact. Got some frostbite on my arms, but no black spots." Didn't open the door right away. Instead, I activated the outer airlock zone. The first door cracked open, leaving a gap just wide enough for one person to slip through. Once he was inside, the first door immediately slammed shut behind him. Next came the air shower to blast off the snow, the disinfectant spray, and the vacuum sealing of his outer clothing. I dropped down a disposable hazmat suit and a spare winter coat for him. I ran a temperature check and inspected his wounds. He was quarantined in the outer airlock for 72 hours. During those 72 hours, I only gave him water, ration bars, and basic meds through the drop chute. On the night of the 3rd day, after confirming he had absolutely 0 signs of infection, no high fever, and no aggressive tendencies, I finally allowed him into the isolation ward on basement level 1. When he saw me, he didn't even bother asking if he could stay. Instead, he looked over towards the medical bay and asked in a very soft voice, "Do you have any usable medicine left in here?" I looked at him, and he let out a bitter smile. "Don't get the wrong idea. I'm a doctor. Whenever I see medicine, I just can't help but think of the patients first." I stared at his foolish back, and stayed silent for a long time. The apocalypse turns a lot of people into monsters, but there will always be those who still remember who they used to be. From that day on, I stopped shutting everyone out. But, every single time I opened that door, there had to be rules. Later on, I saved a brother and sister. By the time the infected chased the teenage boy near the mall, he could barely hold on anymore, yet he still shielded his little sister tightly in his arms. When he knocked on the door, he only said one thing: "Please, save my sister." I don't even have to go inside. I let them into the buffer zone. After 72 hours of quarantine, both siblings survived. When the boy woke up, he tried to drop to his knees to thank me, but I stopped him. The 3rd person was a worker who had warned me to stay safe during construction, back before the apocalypse. When he showed up, one of his legs had almost completely lost all feeling. He spoke to me through the intercom. "Boss, I won't cause any trouble. I only have this set of repair tools on me. If you're willing to take me in, I can fix your pipes and wiring from now on. If not, just point me to a path where I can hide from the wind. That's fine too. I stayed quiet for a long time, but ultimately, I let him into the buffer zone. It took the old doctor 3 whole days, just to save his leg. After his wounds were cleaned, he lay in the isolation room for a solid half-month. Before he could finally stand back up, after he pulled through, he helped me reinforce several outer pipes, and even upgraded the backup maintenance tunnels. From that day on, I was no longer the only one in the underground bunker, but the rules were also officially set in stone that very day. Number 1. Before anyone enters the living quarters, they must quarantine for 72 hours. Number 2. All supplies are centrally logged. No hoarding or stealing. Number 3. No one is allowed near the main control room or the power room without permission. Number 4. No rioting or causing trouble of any kind. No breaking the rules, and absolutely no opening any doors without authorization. Violators will be kicked out immediately. Number 5. I will never try to save 3 people, if it means risking everybody else's lives. These rules, I wrote them right at the most visible spot by the basement entrance. After reading them, the old doctor only had one thing to say: it's good to have strict rules. In a world gone to hell, a lack of rules is what gets people killed. 1 month later, the city had completely lost its original shape. High rises were buried in ice and snow. The streets were swallowed by snowdrifts. Malls, hospitals, schools, everywhere became a wandering ground for the infected, but the underground fortress slowly stabilized. The old doctor organized the medical storage, sorting the medicines by their purpose and expiration dates. The teenager took charge of patrolling the outer security cameras, while his little sister helped water the plants in the greenhouse. As for the mechanic, he took me along to carefully inspect the drainage, the walls and the backup wiring. This underground mall finally wasn't just a shelter for me alone anymore. It started to feel like a real place where we could survive for the long haul. Later on, survivors would occasionally pass by the underground mall. Some begged for help, while others cursed us out. Some tried to pry the doors open, and some just stood outside crying and repenting, saying they used to rob people and now finally understood what it felt like to have their hope ripped away. 6 months later, the endless freezing storms finally started to die down. The sky was still a gloomy gray, and the sun looked like a dusty copper coin, hanging behind thick layers of clouds. The infected hadn't vanished, but the people who survived had already started rebuilding some kind of order. On the edge of the city, a few survivor outposts popped up one after another. They used abandoned malls as barricades, and underground parking lots to hide from the cold. People even started lighting fires again, clearing the roads and scavenging for any supplies that were still usable. I didn't join any of those outposts, and I didn't open the underground mall to take everyone in. This fortress is a lesson I paid for with my life. I can give a meal to someone innocent. I can give a bottle of water to a kid on the verge of collapsing, and I can even let someone who truly follows the rules shelter in the outer buffer zone for 1 night from the snowstorm. But the living quarters behind those doors, and the power room, will never just be casually opened to outsiders. Because I know full well, in the apocalypse, you can be kind, but your kindness must have boundaries. During that year, I saw way too many people crying on their knees outside my door. I also saw way too many people turn against each other over half a bag of rice. I've seen people, desperate for medicine, abandon their closest loved ones to run away alone. And I've seen people who would rather starve, just to save their last bite of food for their family. The apocalypse magnifies human greed, but it also pushes the rare, unextinguished sparks of goodness right into the spotlight. 1 year later, I stood in the main control room of the underground mall. In front of me was an entire wall of security monitors. On those screens, the city was still buried in ice and snow. Abandoned skyscrapers stood silently in the freezing wind. Occasionally, you could still see the infected, slowly shuffling past the street corners. But I wasn't afraid anymore, because behind me was a steadily running generator, a living area glowing with warm light, and a greenhouse full of fresh green vegetables. In my past life, I was shoved out the door by others. But in this life, I am standing on the inside. 3 blast doors, locked one layer after another behind me. The keys are in my hands, and my life is in my own hands too.